Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Untitled Reviews. This being a show where it's about TV shows that are dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Billy the Kid. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up sometime after the events of the first episode, obviously in the past with a younger Billy, and him, his mom, and his brother have left Coffeeville, which understandable. It's like after his dad died, it was like, right, there's literally no reason to stay here. There's no many opportunities. I mean, the other family you went there with, Mary and her son, and left, so it's like no point to stay there because you kind of don't have any help or support in that. So she leaves. That guy Hurley ends up taking them, and that was an interesting experience, that whole dust storm situation. He's drinking up a storm. They're kind of panicking because I guess they've never experienced it before because they've been living in New York and they've never been this far west and stuff. But it's still interesting, and he's just drinking and laughing. And then he has to be a big old creepo, and he starts about to assault Kathleen until Billy stepped in. And he's like, well, I wasn't about to do anything. It's not important. And and I think that's going to be an important line throughout the show. It's like, oh, it's not important, but Billy's like, it is important to me. Important enough that if need be, I will fire, I will shoot, I will kill someone if it means, in this particular case, if it means protecting his mom, because he feels even more like he's always done that and looked after his mom even while his father was sick, but even more so now without his father around, he feels the need to look after his brother and his mom because I'm the only one who can. I was like, okay, so how's this going to play out? I wasn't expecting it. It's like, oh, Hurley took them all the way down. I was like, oh, this had to be super awkward. Kathleen pays him, and Billy gives his mom the gun, and she leaves it with Hurley. And Hurley's just almost like, he's embarrassed, because I think it's like as a man, it's like, man, I got pulled on by a kid. I don't think he appreciates like that kid had me dead to rights. I'm assuming that since Billy still had a gun, Billy had the gun on him the entire time. I was like, yeah, don't, because the last thing I want to do is because he can't do anything too now that they're in town. It's probably like, right, the last thing I want to do is try and attack a kid or his mom. I'd probably get in way more trouble. So I think it's just his pride was shattered. So, but they are in, was it Santa Fe? Was it New Mexico or was it just Mexico? But they're in Santa Fe, and it's supposed to be a new opportunity. And luckily, Kathleen finds a job, but it's 12 hours for $3. But she meets Hetty, who was like, hey, it's right. The moment she was pouring champagne, I'm like, is she a lady of the night? Turns out she's a lady of the night. And she's telling Kathleen, that's the only way you're going to make it here. There's not too many opportunities. So you can either whore or you can get married. So those are the only options. Because she did meet a guy named, Henry Artem. I was like, at first I was like, oh, okay, he seems like a reasonable guy. But I'm also like, I don't trust him either. Because it feels like he's trying too hard to be a good guy. So, but especially because Billy didn't have the best first impression of him himself, because the first time Billy met him was a guy helping hang some people in town, and and he was just he was so excited, he was all about it, because it's oh, these Mexicans, they stole blah 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 blah, and the sheriff was just kind of okay. But I was like, did they actually steal something, or maybe they did, but it's just, I don't know. I mean, you also have to consider it's the Old West too, so it's and I thought it was interesting, his perspective of it's an interesting conversation because it's kind of come up recently. And if you've seen the series Under the Banner of Heaven, it kind of has a similar thing where, oh yeah, the laws of man and the laws of God. In this particular case, it's right, people who break the laws of God, we're good, God-fearing people here, and most of these Mexicans, they don't get it. They're here to steal and stuff like that. And you're like, huh. It's almost, I'm just saying, oh, there's interesting parallels you can sadly make to present day of that. I don't know. It's just do you think that was specifically written like that? Because it's well, it's true to the time, but you're almost it's scary how that parallel kind of still but I mean, it's fucking racism. It's going to, racism, across any point in time is just going to look and sound about the same. So that was kind of hard. Because it probably hit Billy a little harder, too, because it's right, he had just seen his first dead body not too long ago, and now it's oh man, now you're seeing three people. That was seeing someone get shot. This is seeing someone get three people hung, and it's those aren't quick. I mean, if you're lucky, if you're heavy enough, it's a quick death. If not, you're just getting strangled, and it can take a while. So That's brutal. And it's not like they're trying to shield the kids from it. It's like, that was just done, like, out in the open. It wasn't even just, like, out. It was, I mean, it makes, I guess, because, like, you need to, like, some banisters to wrap the rope around. But, I mean, it was literally done in front of a building. Like, so it's kind of like, that's hardcore. And the guy just looking at Billy after he did it. So when Billy meets him again, I love that Billy's at dinner just staring at the guy the entire time. It's like, I saw what you did to those men. He's like, no, it's okay, Billy. And, you know, he's saying, but right, we did this because in the name of God and whatnot. But Billy asked the right questions, like, who made you judge? Like, who gives you the right to kind of, like, determine all that stuff? So, and Kathleen is kind of doesn't appreciate Billy doing this because she's making it clear, like, right, Henry is someone she's trying to get close to because he's wealthy, he's well off. That's almost the thing too. Like, he has someone. He has a servant who seems Mexican. I'm like, I guess it's just because of town and stuff like that. And so I mean, it's just like anyone under those circumstances. I guess, I mean, it'd be no different from like a slavery situation of like. That is like, oh, like when you kill slaves for stepping out, but you still have indentured servitude, which obviously is the same thing, but still, like, I guess it's no different. But I'm like, because I guess in his mind, it's like, right, the lady who works for me, she's one of the quote unquote good Mexicans. I'm sure that's his justification for it. It's like, you know, because he obviously, once again, I don't know why I'm spending so much time on it. It's like it's racism. It's the old West racism. Kind of leave it at that. Because Kathleen connected with him because he is Irish, but he's from the U.S. He was born in the U.S. His family is from Ireland, the North specifically, but he's never been himself. So I think there's that element of, like, one, he is wealthy, he's also Irish. So there's almost that thing of, like, right, I need someone to help, you know, because even the lady when she was getting the job, she told Kathleen, oh, keep the ring going, it's going to protect you. It's like, ring or no ring, people still, like, hassled her, but having Henry around would make that better because people would be less reluctant, like they'd back down because, I mean, Henry helped her before and she's like, oh, he seems like a decent man. But I love that Billy is like, I don't trust him, like something's off about this dude, like trust me, there's something wrong with him. He's a liar. Because I guess Billy saw him for what he really was. Because his mom didn't see that side of him, that look in his face. Like, Billy saw the look in his eyes when he was hanging those people. And it's like, that man, and how he's presenting himself now. That's why, like, Billy was giving him stink eye. It's like, I've seen you for what you are. Like, you enjoyed that. You were really into it. You were all about it. It's not like you were, like, reluctantly doing it. You were all about it. So Kathleen felt the need to, like, right, she has to, especially if she wants to look after her family, because once again, it's either marry Henry or, you know, prostitute herself out, and it's like she doesn't want to do that, because that's also, like, regardless, that can be, I mean, especially at that time, that can be such a dangerous line of work, so this is the better option, and at least, I think also, this option in her mind, it gives her children a stable home, they have a father figure, she's like, no one's going to take your father's place, but Billy was like, it's not even about Pa, it's just, I don't trust this guy, he's a liar, but she goes through with it anyway. I wasn't expecting a 5-year time skip. I was like, because I was like curious to see, like, okay, so how are they going to handle this? I brought this up in the series premiere, like how they were going to handle the storytelling, like how they were going to structure it. And so we got like the 5-year time skip, which is interesting because obviously, like, once again, Billy was only like 23 when he died, real life wise. So it's like there's only so. I mean, you could squeeze a lot of story in that time frame, but I'm sure like it's just going to like because he's got to be like. Because he might have been 23 at present, where like the furthest point in the timeline, because it's 8 years later, right? 7 or 8-ish years later is like the furthest we've gotten. When he was dealing with that dude last episode, present day, that was like 7 or 8 years into the future, and now it's like 5 years later. So there's still like that 3-year window. I think I might be misremembering what the dates were last step. Maybe it was only 5 years, because I know it's like, okay, 1871 is them, but I'm like, I can't remember what the furthest date was. Was it, because it was like 17, I mean, it was like 1878 or something like that, maybe. I don't know. I'm getting too caught up in the numbers and all that, but Billy hanging out with Carlos, because Carlos has been his good friend for the past 5 years, and ultimately they were at a card game, and one of the guys there like pulled on Carlos and shot him. You're like, what the? And no one did anything. He told the guy, the lady, the dealer, is like, no, keep doing, because, and notice who he shot. He shot Carlos and not Billy, because it's like, right, you're a white kid, Billy. If I shot you, there'd be too much issue. But this kid, he's a Mexican. Who's going to care about him? Why you care about something that's not important? And for Billy, it's like, because it is important. This is my friend. You know, he's known Carlos for years. That's kind of heartbreaking to immediately go from them like hanging out together to hardcore cut to 5 years later to this, and literally 2 minutes later, Carlos is dead. I was like, that sucks. And the guy just sat down and kept playing afterwards. Like, Billy's like, yo, bring the sheriff. But the sheriff isn't going to do anything because home dude is connected. And because Billy learns all this from a journalist named Mr. Upson. And he's like, yo, which I have to look up that actor, because he seems so familiar. I just don't know what I know him from. If I know him at all. Maybe he just has one of those faces. But Upson's like, right, there's a ring of very powerful, corrupt people that are in this land. Like, there's the Santa Fe ring, but he says, like, there's other rings as well. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. I know, like, Billy the Kid has, like, he is that notorious cowboy kind of folk hero. He's got that, he's that legendary rogue element to him. And I'm curious, are we setting up, like, is that his main thing? Like, is he going after people who are connected to these different rings, like the Santa Fe ring or whatnot? Because the guy who shot Carlos isn't a part of that. Because even Upson was like, I don't know his name, but the guy he's talking to is Hennessy. He's connected. So they're protecting him because either he is part of the ring or that guy just had some connection and the ring feels that he's important to some shape or form. So Upson plans on trying to unravel this and deal with this corruption. And you're like, wow. It's naturally going to be an uphill battle at any point in time, but especially in this time frame, like, to try and take down corruption seems like almost an impossible battle, because Billy was like, right, I'm not going to wait forever, because he's like, how long? Because for Upson, it's like, there's only so much you can do with a bullet. You know, true justice is something you can't get from the barrel of a gun. We have to find about it this way, by dismantling the corruption once and for all. But it's like, it would take years and years and years to make something like that happen. But Billy, it's like, I want justice for my friend. I thought what's interesting too, and maybe it could always circle back around, but I'm surprised Billy didn't just kill him even at the end of the episode. That never happened. But part of me wonders, will Billy circle back around and, like, you know, because I like the titling for this. Like, you see it in the promos for the show where it's like, right, he basically is like, oh, Billy sins because he was sinned upon first. He is basically like, yo, I give back what I was given, you know? Whatever you dish out, I'm going to dish it back tenfold. So I think eventually, like, he's going to come back and kill that guy. Maybe present day timeline, like the furthest point in time, or maybe in that, or maybe relatively soon. We'll have to wait and see, but. And then you have the situation where Hetty comes in and she's been messed up. Someone hit her, and you're like, the moment she's like kind of reluctant to talk about who did it, I was like, it was Henry, wasn't it? And it's like, it was. Like, Henry, not only has he been seeing her now, he saw Henry was seeing Hetty before Kathleen even came to town, and he's never stopped in the time they've been married. You're like, wow. You know, that's not going to. That's the thing, like, adultery's an issue. I don't know, maybe that's probably, like, even further back in time, because I was like, you think that would count as adultery, and it's like, because I think, well, I know women, I mean, that might also be the thing, because I'm like, women can get in trouble for adultery, but men can too, especially, like, because this is supposed to be such a God-fearing town and stuff like that. It's like, once again, it's just supposed to show how much of a hypocrite Henry is. He's going to justify it by being like, right, he was angry at Hetty because things didn't work out, like, with the dealings he had set up. They kind of fell through, and the main reason Kathleen married him was out of, like, you know, protection and, you know, security. because of like, so that no one messes with their family, but also like they'd have money to survive, that she can look after her kids. And that kind of it's almost like, what's the point? Because he screwed up all the money stuff anyway. All the projects fell through. The fact is that he also can't get any more loans now because he also needs to pay those back. But the moment Billy like found out like about Kathleen, is like, okay, you're hurting my mom. He goes to that place, finds him with a whole bunch of women. He's like, oh no, go ahead and try and shoot me, Billy. See what happens, how your mom feels the moment she sees you hanging from a rope. And Billy is about to walk away, and then Billy proceeds to beat the ever-living shit out of him, rightfully so. And I love that when he comes to the house the next day, like, Kathleen knows what went down because she looks at Billy, and Billy kind of looks away. But I love that he didn't do anything then, because it's like, right, he knows he's in the wrong, and he knows that, like, Kathleen knows, so he's like, right, this is what's going on, so they can't stay here in Santa Fe anymore, they have to leave. And Kathleen's telling Billy that he doesn't have to go, but Billy's telling her, it's like, no, you don't have to stay with him. But for her, it's like, I'm a Catholic, I believe in marriage. I'm like the sanctity of marriage. I'm like, but shouldn't that all get tossed out the window when you find out that your husband's a lying bastard? That he's cheated on you the entirety of your marriage, 5 years of him, like, because it wasn't just Hetty. Hetty was one of his, he was one of Hetty's regular customers, but he had other people too. I mean, it could be that only reason why he was with those other girls is because he snapped on Hetty and she left after he like hit her. So you think that all kind of get thrown out the window, but I think it's also, it's that thing of just like Kathleen is very adamant about her beliefs, and once again, because like Catholics don't really believe in, not saying they don't believe, it's just, it's frowned upon. Like, I think even still to today, like, that's, I think, once again, religion's one of those things where like, I think I've learned stuff here and there over the years, but like, I could be, maybe that's something I was wrong about, but I'm thinking like, I think they're not, I mean, there's certain religions that are not, that frown upon divorce, because it's like, it's kind of, I guess it's almost like a besmirchment to God, like getting divorced, because you made this union under his name, so it's always about trying to make it work. And I guess like she wants to keep him around because Henry, it's like, right, she knows he's no good, but it's like, right, she's stuck with her beliefs, and believes like, right, I'm a Catholic, so I need to stay with him. But also maybe she's hoping things will get turned around. But she was saying, Billy, you don't have to go with me. And he's like, yeah, I do. It's like, I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to leave you, especially with that bastard. Like, because who knows what he's going to do the moment my back is turning on with you. Like, I love you, Mom. I'm going to always be there to try and protect you. So they end up leaving town, and Billy ended up talking to Upson, who himself is leaving town. In fact, he's like, oh, I'm going to Silver City because there's a mine there, so there's some work opportunities and such. And he would even ask Billy, like, what do you plan on doing? Billy's like, wasn't really sure, because he's like, yeah, playing like things at the card table. It's like, yeah, that's not really something I plan to do forever. But people started threatening Upson just because of him looking into the Santa Fe ring and such. But he says, like, the fact is that people are threatening him. It just makes him want to dive. It makes him want to dive even deeper into it. It won't shake his determination. And I thought it was kind of an interesting line that he said to Billy, that basically courage is recognizing courage is simply recognizing your weaknesses and doing everything you can to move past them to some extent. And throughout the episode, we see like Billy constantly training with his gun, his quick draws, because we know that Home Dude from last episode taught him how to use a gun, but I guess Billy was like 100% self-taught. And it seems like even his quick draw and shots, it seems like that's all improvised. That's stuff that he came up with. Because he was trying to pull his gun on the guy who shot Carlos, but the guy had him dead to rights. And so I think Billy was practicing, because he's like, right, I never want to be caught off guard like that again. When the time comes, I'm going to put someone down if they threaten me. Because I think he's also taking Home Dude's advice, like, right, you never point a gun at someone unless you're planning on using it. And I think the same thing applies. Like, you point a gun at me, you better make damn sure you're going to kill me, because if not, I will kill you. Hence, like, the ending of last episode. But they leave Santa Fe, and they're heading to the Silver City, and along the way, I love that Henry's talking mad shit. He's like, right, you do that to me again, boy, or something like that. He's like, I control your mom or something like that. You and that little brother of yours, like, I can make it worse for you. And I was like, okay. And then they're in that tent, and the snake thing, I thought like, oh, Billy was going to use it to his advantage and basically get Henry killed with the snake or something. But Billy's the only one that was calm about it. And the guy's freaking out. He's like, Jesus Christ. And then Billy quick draws, shoot, and kills the snake. And I love that turn and stares at Henry, and Henry's like freaking out, and Billy like puts his gun back. It's like, oh, you threaten me? Don't get it twisted, dude. Don't, I beat the crap out of you before. It can get a lot nastier if you need it to. So I thought that was kind of interesting to leave the episode there. But I'm really, like I said, I'm surprised by the way they are going about telling the story. Once again, it's like, I didn't know how they were going to handle it, but it's like, no, it seems like we got all the past stuff done now. Well, we're not caught up with present day with Billy's story. There's still obviously time we need to catch up on. Obviously, just based on what I remember from the trailer, I know where certain points in Billy's story how things are going to play out, but it's going to be interesting to get to those points and understand the circumstances around them. Either way, I'm very, very interested to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.